Welcome to the Rob Liefeld Show featuring Robservations. I bring over 40 years experience in the world of comic books and entertainment. Across 5 decades, I offer insights and opinions on the business and the art of comic books and pop culture. If it's happening in games, in streaming, in movies, in comic books, we are covering it and discussing it right here. Hey everybody, and welcome to the Rob Liefeld Show featuring Robservations. This is where we collect all our thoughts and share all our stories about comic books and pop culture. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am so thrilled that you are listening wherever you are listening, from Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podbean, or on our YouTube channel that we started a few months ago. We are always thrilled for you to join us. You are listening to the number one comic book pop culture show of 2025, whatever it's been, 28 weeks, however long. I'm always amazed when I look and see how well that we are doing, how many people continue to jump on, continue to share the experience, give their feedback. I am reading your comments on Spotify, on Apple, on the YouTube platforms. You guys crack me up. So many of you are so generous and kind, and you're always very detailed in exactly what you are experiencing and how you are sharing what you are experiencing with me. I am so thrilled to be part of this entire experience with you. And today we have got a show. It's the art show. We're going to talk about the making and the creation of comic book art, as well as the upcoming Heritage auction. We got a big auction. We're going to go through a couple of the highlights. We certainly don't have time to do a comprehensive deep dive, but we're going to jump into it, and we are going to analyze some of these amazing pieces, because without the art, people, these are novels, okay? It's novels. The reason you buy comic books is because of the art. We're going to get into it right now. So about all of those crazy, great, awesome comments that you guys have been sharing, we're going to try and read them more often. We're going to try and do it in the middle of the show, so you don't always have to wait until the very end. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I really enjoy when the podcasts, I got this 5 years ago after listening to a few of the podcasts before I started my own podcast. I was able to listen as the hosts would read other comments, reviews, whatever you want to call them, that come in from all of you. And so many of you have contacted me and told me how much it means when I share those. So I'm going to definitely be sharing those. Look for them in the middle of the shows now, as opposed to where we kind of drag them out to the very end. In regards to comic book art and what makes our craft and our entire genre platform, hobby so exceptional, business, it is because of these exceptional styles. A Barry Windsor Smith does not draw like a John Buscema, does not draw like a Mike Zeck, does not draw like an Art Adams, does not draw like a Jack Kirby, does not draw like a Neil Adams. Everybody has had a definitive style. At least they did when I was growing up. When we had Mike from Comics, Tunes, and Toys a couple of weeks back, he said he has noticed more of a house style. He said it on the air. And what that has meant to me and all my peers, because of course we talk about this. And I have been on the phone with a lot of my peer group, my class, the guys that I kind of went through the comic book life with. We've all commented on it. There is what we can basically settle on in an agreement is that there is an animated style look of making art, an animated cell style, less rendering, less shading, less contours, rim lighting, spotting of black areas, pullouts, all these different terminologies that we've used over time. I've talked to you about 5 years ago. I told you about how we all attribute with Will's Portatio for bringing in what's called the fade, which is generally under a muscle or on a muscle. It indicates a soft shadow and it starts with a grouping of lines being very tight together, and then they separate, and sometimes they go back to being tight at the end, or they separate and go tight, or they go tight and go separate. It's all the different manners that you can do the fade. One of the people who incorporated the fade the most into their work from Wills is Dale Keown. When he was doing his pit stuff, I remember going, oh man, he is also incorporating this aspect that Wills had been doing as far back as I saw on The Punisher, prior to him getting on Uncanny X-Men, and then his exceptional Wetworks comic book, the comic book that he did at Image. The different styles and the different renderings are something that really defined art, not just in the 90s. It was the stuff that Neil Adams introduced. It's the stuff that Art Adams and Mike Kaluta and Michael Golden and Gene Colan. I mean, there's all manner. Joe Kubert. Everyone had a different style, maybe a different approach, and all it takes is for one kind of detour with the lines to go in a different direction from an existing direction to kind of create your own path. And you'll see that in Skinbreaker, the book that Dave Finch has coming out. And look, let me just go out of my way to tell you that I cannot tell you. This is how I express myself. Yes, I repeat it all the time. It's from the bottom of my heart. I cannot tell you enough how much I appreciate the way that you went out of your way to extend the generosity on the interviews that we've done so far. We're going to continue to book them and bring them to you. And we're going to mix them in with all this different talk about comic books, because sometimes we just want to focus on a different area and we don't need another participant. The one thing I wish that the young guys would feel more comfortable doing, and I can't, and this goes for an entire blanket, is share some stories. The one thing that we were able to do, and always I think maybe got us into trouble, maybe identified us as more bombastic. I'm thinking of myself. I'm thinking of Todd McFarlane. Is the stories we told. We would tell stories. We would take you behind the curtain. We would sometimes tell of conflicts. Certainly the guy, and I've mentioned this now for 5.5 years running, the Comics Journal John Byrne interview that I've given many times, when he name-checked Bob Layton, George Perez, Marv Wolfman, Bill Mantlo, Jim Starlin, and that was just a few. And not all of them were pleasant or were pretty, but he was slinging it. We did a Barry Windsor-Smith interview where he took shots at myself, Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, Jack Kirby, Don Heck, John Buscema. Nobody was safe. That was a crazy great interview. We're going to be looking up close and personal at some Barry Windsor-Smith art when we get to the auction section today, focusing on the art. And of course, we're going to bring you more interviews with more artists. But focusing on the art, I was really hearkening back to a time in the 90s where the 90s was more than any period that I've ever experienced, was the time that celebrated the inker, the age of the inker as superstar. Certainly the 70s and the 80s had Tom Palmer, it had Joe Sinnott, Terry Austin, Joseph Rubinstein, Bob McLeod. It had Gene Day. It had Dick Giordano. I'm going to leave off a whole bunch of names, but it was an incredible Klaus Janson. Holy crap. That's one that I could not have not mentioned. Klaus Janson, Terry Austin, I think, are the two premier of the late 70s throughout the entirety of the 80s. Joseph Rubinstein would be right there. They are all a product, a godfather. The godfather of all of them would be Dick Giordano, who could do no wrong with his pen and his brush. And trust me, he is the inker of the Superman versus Muhammad Ali, the comic book that I will go to my grave believing is the single best illustrated comic book of all space and all time. Look at it. Tell me I'm wrong. Just tell me I'm wrong. Those faces, those figures, those environments, those layouts, those page designs, just sick. Absolutely. Dick was, when Neil couldn't ink himself, and for many, many years, Dick was Neil's favorite inker. But we were all recruiting young inkers heading into the 90s. We all wanted to duplicate kind of the slick lines, started by Terry Austin, continued by Scott Williams. And so Scott Williams was Wildstorm adjacent. He was part of Wildstorm. They had a gentleman named Trevor Scott who had a slick but not as slick line as Scott Williams. I hired Danny Mickey from a comic book store who had been tutoring under Art Thibert, who was so wildly gifted. Art could do the brush thing. He could give you a Tom Palmer brush application. He had such incredible control over that brush. And then he could mix it up with nib and do nib and brush, or he could just be nib and be as slick as he possibly could over Scott Williams. And when he inked me on certain pages in Extinction Agenda, or inked Jim on Uncanny X-Men, or inked inked Wills Portacio, Art inked Wills Portacio, Art Thibert. If you see Thibert, he'll teach you. It's not Thibert, it's Thibert. And it was the age of Danny Mickey, Art Thibert, Scott Williams, Trevor Scott, Dan Panosian, who had the same mastery of brush and quill as Art or Scott, and then we started building these mini expansion armies of incredible inkers. From Top Cow, you got Matt Banning, who was Matt Banning prior to being at Top Cow, and he adopted a cool moniker called Bat, B-A-T-T. There was Joe Weems. There was D-Tron. Yes, D apostrophe D dash, not apostrophe, D dash Tron, T-R-O-N, D-Tron. Sorry, my enunciation and pronunciations are off today. Forgive me. D-Tron, Joe Weems, Bat. Let's see. We had Norm Ratman at Extreme. We had Marlo Alquiza. We had John Sabal, who would blossom into. All these guys. Larry Stucker at Extreme. Many of these guys. Sandra Hope was coming out of Wildstorm in the latter days. If there's somebody that I missed, it's not personal. These are the names that stand out to me, and that's a ton. That's a ton of names, because let me tell you, each one was I'll just call him a slick Rick. They could make the slickest, sharpest razor, from razor thin to a juicy, what we call bloops, thicker line, and then give that. I'd have to have the page and show you the bloop. D-Tron, Joe Weems, Bat, Danny Mickey, John Sabal, Marlo Alquiza, Larry Stucker, Jaime Mendoza. He came from the studios. Trevor Scott. Guys, Norm Ratman, all these guys, incredible inkers, continuing to dazzle today when they apply their craft. There was a period that everyone was trying to get with these guys. Todd would call Danny Mickey, wanted to bring Danny Mickey over into the Spawn family. He did that. I wanted to bring D-Tron over into the Extreme family. We did that. Joe Weems came over and started inking some of my stuff on Heroes Reborn, as well as some other Extreme titles, bridging from Top Cow. A couple of years later, Bat came over. He was inking over primarily Mark on the Darkness, and then Dave Finch on the work that he was doing, including Ascension. And Bat inked over me on some projects called The Rejects. I am so thrilled that I was able to experience all of their incredible slick lines. And to this day, it is with great pride that I pull out some of those originals that I still have, that those guys delivered big time for me, and I just drool all over them. They're just amazing. The quality of the line, the sharpness of the line, the detail of the rendering, the cross hatching, all the different, and everybody did cross hatching differently. One time I went over to pick up a page from Joe Weems, and he was showing how he said, hey, I just wanted to attack this cross hatching. And what I had is maybe 3 levels of lines crossing. He turned into 6, which is just another kind of on top layer, to then the middle layer, to then the next layer, to then the next layer, to then the outer middle layer, to then it's just incredible. These guys were absolute craftsmen with Hunt 102s, 107s. Some of them utilized markers. The brush usage went down, other than to fill in the blacks. Not a lot of guys were crafting with a brush. It was really a pen and ink and a slick application of the quill. And if you can get one of those quills going, when I was feeling, I inked my own work starting with New Mutants 98, 99, 100, X-Force 1, 2, 3, 4. I started to, I guess, take on some extra help but for the most part, I was the guy doing all the inking on New Mutants and X-Force when I took over the inking mantle. There's actually a couple pages in New Mutants '96 that I inked. Art Taber inked about 6 or 8 pages. I inked about another 4 pages. If you can find them, good on you. Then I pick up the quill and I do it full time, and I really enjoyed, because it's really the mastery of the tool, and anyone will tell you this, comes in the repetitive nature of just doing it, just like anything, whether it's sports or any craft. Repetition creates improvement and hones the skill. I remember by the middle of X-Force 1, I was getting more of the lines that I wished I was getting back on New Mutants 98, and then X-Force 2, and then X-Force 3. Man, I was just cooking. I remember X-Force 4, I just thought, man, I am slinging these lines in the exact manner that I wanted to see them. When I was doing this, and when Todd was inking Spider-Man, and when Eric Larson was inking himself, we were all wishing that there were other guys who could maintain this. There was a older guy in that he was in the business before we were in the business. His name was Rick Magar, and Todd had thought maybe Rick could give him kind of a Scott Williams style polish, and he pulled him onto an issue of Spider-Man. There's an issue of Spider-Man that Todd, under the deadline gamut, gave to myself, to Jim Lee, to Scott Williams. We all joined in, we jammed, we produced a couple pages each to help get him over the threshold on Spawn. Someday I'll bring that page and I'll show you. There's a couple pages Todd brought to the meetings. He needed these pages done, and there's 2 halves of a double page spread that Jim Lee and I split up. It's a bunch of Where's Waldo kind of figures. It's a bird's eye view of like an alley with people who have been ripped apart, arms, legs, and maybe the Frank Miller issue that Frank wrote for Todd. I think that's the one. And Jim, you can see a Jim arm and a leg next to a Rob arm and a leg. We just kept passing it back and forth, picking kind of, I'll do this, you do this. Really fun, jamming together. But the inking was a very definitive aspect of the commercial appeal of the art that was being produced at the time. What happened is the development of the color departments, and I've done an entire dedicated episode, and maybe it was the first episode of season 2 of the Robservations podcast, where I talked about the fact that I decided to start my own coloring department. I invested the money that I had made from royalties and the first earnings from Youngblood into buying 10 computers, and then with my wife's cousin who had graduated from Carnegie Mellon, which he would tell me is a big brain school. And I can attest to that because I was suddenly having conversations with big brain guys, brainiacs, smart guys who knew hardware, software, and they started implementing it. And we built up an Extreme Studios color department that I think produced some incredible images. And boy, there was about a time in 94, 95, guys named Andy and Don. There was a woman named Liz. The colors were just crushing it. And as the Photoshop upgrades got better each time, the special effects got better. Water effects, fire effects, glows, space effects, blast effects. These started pushing back the lines just because of the filters that were used, the different screens that were used. These were pushing back the lines. And while the lines were still noticeable, it started really becoming hard to decipher the quality of the different ink lines because of the overwhelming application of the colors. A gentleman, a very talented gentleman named Brian Haberlin was responsible for the Top Cow palette and really making everything at Top Cow look so unique. He had a very distinct palette away from the different palettes that were being used at Wildstorm, at Extreme, at Marvel, and he created a signature color theory that was very much in line with all the Top Cow books. They stood out for that period. I'm going to guess From about 1996 to about 1998, I think Brian Haberlin was among the very best colorists. And here's the deal. Let me tell you something. Each of these guys had a moment, a year, an extension of months, and I was there. I watched the competition. John Sabal became one of the best inkers in the business and maybe was the top for 3 months. Joe Weems, Bat, D-Tron, Danny Mickey, all of these guys had their time to shine. Tim Townsend was doing his very slick line work over at Marvel over guys like, I think more of the I don't want to say cartoony, but less rendered styles, like on Chris Pacello, like on Joe Mad. He excels at those guys, or on Humberto Ramos. All of these slick lines, each of these guys had a time where they were shining bright, just in the same way that the colorists were having these times, that they were shining brighter than anybody else. Brian Haberlin, for sure, was dictating a very distinct color palette. Like I said, I call it the top cow color theory. And of course, people would, bite back and forth. A lot of the guys at Extreme had become so good that they were like, Rob, we want to do entire books by ourselves. And they did. And the same with Wildstorm and the same with Top Cow. Everybody kind of was spinning off into their own realm of, hey, I don't want to be part of a collected job anymore where 5 of us color. I want to do an entire job. So we would play to that desire, especially with the results that were being delivered. And so what started out in the early 90s, carrying through to the mid 90s, the inking that was on the page pivoted more towards a production aspect of the business, which is the color. Now, people stopped doing color guides. There were guys who, and gals, we had plenty of both doing color guides. From Wildstorm to Extreme, and those color guides would be handed into the people in the color departments who would then work off the guides. And so that's how you get many hands on every book. And no matter what it was, let's take an entire crossover at Extreme called Extreme Sacrifice. I mean, each one of those issues had 6 to 7 colorists on it. That's in 94, 95. As we get further into the decade, as I said, there were guys who were like, I want to color this all myself. And so you'd get, like I said, a guy named Don Skinner who did all of my a Captain America issue, or a guy named Andy Troy, or some of these, and they were all very talented. It was a pleasure to work with each and every one of them. But the swagger that they brought in regards to their color palette, the rendering that they would do in color, was now starting, as I said, to diminish the line art of the inks. And I don't think there's ever been any looking back, because this led to a period in the 2000s where myself and several people, including Michael Turner, who comes to mind, Andy Kubert, Adam Kubert, we started to shoot the comic pages from the pencils. X-Force 2004, there's not an inked page in there. All of that art is shot entirely from my pencils. Those originals are pencils. Onslaught Reborn is completely shot from my pencils. Many Youngblood comics that I was doing at the time were shot from my pencils. Mike Turner was shooting artwork from his pencils. Wolverine Origins, I believe, is shot from Kubert's pencils. It was becoming more and more production effective. It wasn't ever a case of I'm going to bypass an inker. It was, I can now tighten up these pencils and take maybe the time that would be allotted to an inker who I had to factor in. I could sit and refine them in a very dark pencil line and then scan that, and with Photoshop, sharpen those lines and send it out the door. And I'm skipping a whole bunch of other guys who were actually shooting from pencils at the time, but it was a really fun exercise. I enjoyed it. Why I turned back to working inks into my schedule is speed. The penciling was taking too long, and by incorporating other inkers, including myself, and splitting the jobs, I became more production-minded. What does this have to do with anything? The inks on the page are what makes original art look so interesting. Before I pivot completely into the auction section, we are now at a time, I've carried you through the glamorous and very exciting kind of superstar inker period, which when we started pivoting out to the color is the star period, which is then penciling. Pencils to colors was something that was happening, but you still had original art. The pencils that were scanned were on 11 by 17, Bristol board with a nice tooth on it. Tooth refers to the texture on the paper. Some people like their paper, their Bristol smooth as glass. I always like a little texture on my board. I still do. There's some that have heavier texture. The heaviest texture, suddenly you're drawing on like a parchment. I don't want that, but I don't also want to draw on a glass surface as well. Something as smooth or as kind of steady as a glass surface, as slick. Now, in the last 15 years, we have really seen what we call iPad comics, Cintiq comics. These array of tools that are offered digitally are incredible, and they speak 1,000% to, as I said, to the production end of things, to the production aspect. If on Deadpool Core, I would decide, well, I'm going to have these 10 pages inked by a guy named Jacob Bear. Jacob Bear would ink me digitally. He would send those files back. I'd say, Jacob, I'm still going to ink the faces. I would then print out on my Epson printer the 11 by 17 with black ink lines reflecting the lines that he did in Photoshop, but my faces were all still in blue line, and then I would ink that and finish that up. So I didn't have to ink the entire page, and I reserved the favorite part, what I thought is the most unique and personal part of my art, was the faces. So that would be we tag team a page. It was faster. It also gave me finished original art. The Jacob pages would be compromised, I understand, but then there'd be 10 or 12 others that I pencil ink completely myself. Again, speaking to production. If I were to shoot directly from pencils those issues of Deadpool Core, it would have taken me longer. And while Onslaught Reborn and the X-Force stuff had lead time and more special projects, when you jump on board a monthly release book as Deadpool Core was, that's when I started to incorporate the inks again. Ditto on Hawk and Dove and all the stuff that I was doing for DC New 52 around 2011, 2012. So nowadays, in regards to the production aspect, the final inks are being done in Photoshop by a bunch of these guys who are crafting incredible final images, final being final digital line art images that you can then send to a color yourself, whatever, send to the printer, print the book from. But there is no tangible board. There are no physical boards that reflect the art. So when we go through the auction today, I'm going to stop and I'm going to pause and I'm going to talk to you about some of these pages that I've seen that do reflect the actual art and the fun part of original art. And if you get lost flipping through all the original art, and I absolutely, even if you can't afford the pages, act like you can. Yeah, that's my tip. When you go up to Albert Moy or you go up to some of these guys, at least act like you're a player and you belong, and flip through all that art. Look at how Steve Leialoha's brush lines look inking over Howard Chaykin on a Star Wars page from issue number 4. See how Steve Leialoha's brush lines look inking over Jim Starlin on a Warlock page. See how Joseph Rubinstein's lines on Jim Starlin using a pen and quill, a crow quill with some brush, how that looks decidedly different. Look at Jim Starlin inking himself. Look at Terry Austin inking over Marshall Rogers or John Byrne if they have those pages. Look at Neil Adams inking over John Buscema. Those pages are in those portfolios from those guys. Look at Tom Palmer inking on Neil Adams, who is more brush heavy. Look at Klaus Janson inking over pretty much anybody in the 80s, how he mixed the scratch of a crow quill along with the smooth aspect of the brush and then put screens on them. They were called Zipatone. Eric Larson was also very liberal with it. I was using Zipatone really liberally, like sheets and sheets of it. You would have to cut out patterns and paste them onto the board. That stuff is all over X-Force 2, X-Force 3, X-Force 5, X-Force 4. But the original art, it's great to see. You can see sometimes chunky buildup of ink, which means that the line, there was a lot of work put into that line going over and over and over and over that line. See the crispy, strokes of the crow quill. See the side brush that somebody used to create, more of a grainy line. There's all aspects of original art, but those are not available in the digital realm. I do not want, there is no shade whatsoever. Do what you got to do to make your impact. There are some really great digital artists. They do layouts in the iPad, on the Cintiq. There's a program. I've got it right here on mine. On my iPad, it's I always forget what it's called. It's called Procreate. This Procreate, has all manner. Here, I'll just let's see. I'll grab an image, grab a Youngblood image like I have right here. This Youngblood image. Now, if I wanted to go and put if I wanted to put brush. There's all my tools. Look at all those tools that just popped up. Okay, guys? I'm not going to do a tutorial. I'm just telling you this is what's available. There's all manner of tools that are available at any time to go to work and create this great stuff. There's a great bunch of digital artists doing great digital work, but what you don't get is a physical manifestation of that page that can then be collected. And I'm not going to get into prints and one-of-ones and giclées, none of that. We're going to stick with original art because we have led up to, and all roads lead to, and I really wanted to give the inkers their day. Some of you people, sidebar, you've never listened to a Rob Liefeld podcast before and you don't understand that, wait, why is he taking so long? I talk the industry. I talk about stuff that happened in the industry, and that comes with telling stories, naming names, talking about instances, in this case, the usage of their tools, how they applied them. What I'm going to do is D-Tron was inking Michael Turner, Joe Weems inked Michael Turner, inked Mark Silvestri, Bat inked Mark Silvestri, inked Michael Turner, inked Dave Finch. Joe Weems also did some stuff over Finch. John Sabal inked myself. He inked Mike Turner. He inked Chap Yap at Extreme Studios. Danny Mickey inked myself. He inked Greg Capullo. He inked Joe Quesada. Dave Finch. Some really great inks over Dave Finch. Maybe some of the best in my estimation. Obviously, Scott Williams mostly inks over Jim Lee. Early on at Marvel, he did some covers, a what if job with me. He inked some Punishers over Eric Larson. If you haven't seen those are worth checking out. They're really an interesting blend of two different styles. He did a ton of inking on Wills Portacio, including some of the wetwork stuff. Oh my gosh, Alex Garner. He left inking altogether and became a painter, a digital painter. I think maybe he mixes between both worlds. I don't know enough to know or speak with any definitive knowledge, but he was inking J. Scott Campbell in the beginning. Very slick inks, as slick as any of the guys that I mentioned. Just want to really, as I told you that these guys were this superstar class of inker that everyone clamored for. Joe Weems also inked over myself. John Sabal also, and Norm Ratman inked over Ian Churchill. Norm Ratman inked over Marat. Dan Panosian inked over Marat. Marlo Alcaiza inked over Marat. Marlo Alcaiza inked over Stephen Platt. Larry Stucker inked over Todd Knock. He inked over myself on Cable. These guys were big deals. A couple weeks ago, Dave Finch told you that he's getting his new project, whatever that may be, inked by Sandra Hope. So these inkers were sought after by some of the biggest names in the business, some of the biggest, most successful people in the business. And to this day, we want our stuff to be inked well. But I'm going to tell you, I will say that the inks are not as important in terms of selling the flash of the page as the color palette that is chosen. Now, I'm always going to favor inkers inking themselves. I love that the most. Dave Finch inking himself on Skinbreaker is something that I want to see the line art of. Mark Silvestri inking himself on Batman Joker is something I want to see the line art of. If Todd McFarlane were to ink anything or anybody, including himself, I want to see those lines. Now, Todd inks digitally, and he informed us in the middle of Image United that he can't ink on boards anymore. We got a few pages, and then he completely tapped out, and he would scan those images, and then we would reapply those images in Photoshop and put the inks that he would do over anyone else, myself or Jim Valentino, or mostly his own renditions of Spawn, and we would implement them so those actual boards just have indicators of where Spawn was going to go. Todd would then scan that, put that on his Cintiq, and ink it using the tools. He really likes the different tools. You can see up close and personal. I've watched him. We had an image convention, the Image Composium, I don't know what it was, maybe 2010, 2011, and he had his Cintiq with him in his hotel room, and he showed all of us, being myself, Robert Kirkman, I'm not really sure, it's a blur, there was a lot of us, but he showed us all the different settings and how, and the application of those settings has jumped, obviously, in those 15 years. Original art boards are fascinating. You should absolutely take a look at them, and the values of these are what we are going to wrap up this last half hour talking about today. We have got a big deal catalog that is coming up, and I picked a few select parts of the catalog to share with you guys. Now I'm gonna lean into the fact that some of these pieces, there's at least 3 pieces of mine in the book. I'm not going to have a show and talk about an auction that my art is in and not show the art that's in the auction. So the cover of the book, the cover of this particular catalog, is this amazing image. Now, there was an image by incredible artists. Many of you may not have known of an artist named Jacques. Okay, but he is an astounding illustrator. Does incredible cover images, and he had a piece in the last auction, and it went crazy. The Joker cover right here sold for $288,000, and I don't think anybody saw that coming. Although it really shouldn't have been a surprise. Here is that piece. Sorry, with the ads and stuff, I don't know, a clean shot, but this is the piece. It was Joker. It sold for $288,000. And it was a furious bidding, and that is no small amount of money, which is, I didn't grab it. I don't want to stop the recording. I'm going to pull out, and I'm going to go grab the catalog. So I will wander to where I left the catalog. I'm back. Here we go. This Joker cover to the Heritage Auctions, I believe, is a direct. They had some real juicy pieces that they could choose from in order to share with you guys, and I think they chose this one because of the success of the Joker cover by from Jock. And this bad boy right here is currently sitting at $100,000. Now, as we talk this over, when this episode loads, it will be 24 hours before the actual day that all of these items I'm going to share with you are going to go live in the auction. So we are doing a preview, but I'm also going to put my ass out there, and I'm going to take some guesses. Now, this Dave McKean Arkham Asylum. Arkham Asylum was a huge graphic novel that was released in the 80s, and people flipped out over it. Absolutely 1,000% flipped out. And this is one of the key pages. It says right here, current bid is 105. I've talked to you guys about the hammer price. There is, if you bid this, that's not, you're not, this doesn't even include tax and tip, kids, okay? But if you can see this image that I'm showing, this very frightening, okay, here it is on the printed page, okay? When you factor in the the buyer's premium, so at the hammer, if this ended today, that number, you'd be paying $131,250, okay? Right there. Ha! So 131, 250. This is going for way more than 105. I'm going to tell you, between me and all my art buddies who buy, I'm just going to say art in that range, and because we don't buy cars, and we don't buy our we don't have boats and yachts, but we love comic book art, and I have collected a lot of friends in the business. We share our stuff with each other. We always meet up at the shows. We look at all the different, Ramita Man, Albert Moy, Bashara. Uh, all the names I'm blanking on. Who come and bring their the Donnelly brothers. I've known these guys for almost 4 decades, each of them, and I've been looking at their collections. And each of my buddies, we've all got different sweet spots and different stuff we buy, and everybody has artists that they favor over others. And in this instance, we always, when the catalogs come, we text, we talk, we call, and we used to all do a lot of pre-bidding. I'm going to tell you the biggest thing that has changed between me and 5 years ago is I don't put any pre-bids. I just wait till the auction starts, because you can have the auction go live. Your pre-bids generally end a couple hours, if not an hour, before the live auction goes. So there's no more bidding it up, putting a pre-bid in, locking down your secret bid. Then when your item comes and it goes live with the auctioneer, and the barker's about to go and the clip goes up, sometimes, you guys, the number triples within a millisecond. Boosh! Will it surprise me if this 1/3 right now, before Hammer? So with the tax and tip, as I said, what we are looking at, uh, with that particular piece, is 131. I'm telling you, this is going over 200. This is going to give Jocks a run for the money and then some. So I'm going to guess that this exceeds Jocks cover, and I'm going to guess that I think this one goes 350. Okay, I think this one goes for 350. Jocks is listed at 288. I think this wasn't going for 350. Okay, so and I think I'm low. I'll be honest. I think all these numbers I'm going to share with you, they're conservative. I'm going to give you the most conservative version of this. So that's our cover piece. Okay. I have a couple of pages. They're not mine. I did not submit them. I know one page where it was, and this is a page. The second, if you can see this, I'm holding it up. It's come on, focus. Okay. Luckily, I have the catalog. That's why I walked over and got it. Okay. So this page, which is X-Force 2, page 5, is Kane. It's one of my favorite layouts. I remember at the time just digging how this one came out. Kane is just dropping it on Deadpool, and there's a nice close-up of Kane as he's with a slashing panel that leads your eye down to the bottom of the page where Deadpool is kicking back. Really fun, big, splashy action page from X-Force number 2 that is going to be up in auction. Now, the early section, so Friday and Sunday will be the what is the platinum version of pages, and then when that ends, and it tells you in the catalog when that ends. And let me tell you something, there's juicy pieces that are in the Sunday section, but it looks like there's about 100 or so, not counting the groupings of pages. But in terms of listing what they'll go through on on Friday morning when this goes live, they will go through. Ooh, boy, it looks like many hundreds of pages will be offered, and in the comic art section that starts on Friday. Woo! There's some underground art. And then when you get to session 2, so is that session 1? Session 2 will start, see, end of session 1, it marks it. That'll be the end of Friday. Session 2 will begin on Sunday. Session 2, I'm holding up to the camera right now. Boy, Friday is going to be packed. But the earliest stuff at the beginning of session 2, of session 1, the earliest stuff is always given at the beginning of the is always at the beginning of the catalog. It is seen as the platinum art. They call it the platinum art. Okay. So only a few pages in, you get what, and this is Heritage has decided what's going early, and you're going to get your Frank Frazetta painting. I would think that this goes in the 650, 800,000, possibly 7 figures. Frank Frazetta paintings, that's what they bring. I know I'm going conservative on this. You just never know. Hey, people submit this stuff and they hope for the best, but depending on the market conditions, the people who are paying attention, the people who show up, stuff can go sideways really fast. We've got a Sam Keith. Cover here that is exceptional. That is going to come up early in the auction. I'm going to get back to my page in a minute. I become completely enamored with these other features. That Sam Keith right now is at 13th. Okay, so the Frank Frazetta is currently before auction at 400,000. So I'm way low. This thing is this beautiful art is right now a couple days before auction at 400,000. Okay, with the hammer, with the buyer's premium. That is at 100. That is at $500,000. So this is going $1 million. I'm going to say that this goes $1 million. Okay, conservatively, this goes $1 million. We'll check back in. I'm willing to come check back in. Now, here's the crazy pants, and this is when I tell you. I want to give you examples. There is no way on God's green earth that this Sam Keith cover goes for $13,000. This is not going for $13,500. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now. This is going in. This is going to go in the 75 to 100 range. I know that's pretty liberal, but it is not going for 13. And you will see 13.5 probably explode to 30 or 40,000 the minute it goes live. The minute it goes live, that Sam Keith thing is going to pop off. I tell you right now. So, in visiting the Liefeld stuff, so. My page, not my page in regards of me. This is not my page. I'm going to tell you. I do know that the person selling this page, and this is why you got to love conventions. The person selling this page. Please stop. There you go. I'm trying to get my bat. There we go. This. This page from X-Force 2 that I've already shared with you from the catalog has a bid right now of $35,000. Okay, it's got a bid of $35,000, and at Hammer, it is at $43,750. So to walk away with this right now, if this were to get no more bids, this is at this is a $43,750. Now, I'm going to predict, I believe that page is going to finish in the $75,000 range. Of course, I hope it goes higher. I want all my stuff to go really high, but I'm going to go conservative. I think it's the second appearance of Deadpool in that opening sequence of Deadpool versus Kane. There is a lot of data being shared. It was my intent when I wrote it to expand the idea of what the Weapon X program had become. You're introducing Kane, who is now in the Weapon X, acknowledging Deadpool that he was once in the Weapon X program. The Weapon X program, which created, of course, Wolverine. So there's a lot of information exchanged about how they never liked each other, what they've each become, Deadpool kind of putting down Kane. So it's also a first appearance of Kane, who I still believe will be a significant player in the next 20 years somehow, somebody, because there are people who really love him, who he was originally set to be in Deadpool 1. He was written out because obviously his transformative robotic cybernetic limbs were going to be too cost expensive. Tim Miller lovingly called me and said, Rob, Kane just got cut out of the movie. He had a great big pair of action sequences where he and Deadpool battled each other, but they couldn't pull it off, so they moved on. I have a cover. I always tell my covers aren't in here. This is a funny cover. It's a New Mutants cover, okay, but it is not one that's featuring Cable and or Deadpool. Nonetheless, Liefeld New Mutants covers have not come up in auction in over a decade. So you've got this cover, which is the New Mutants rushing in. I use Sharpie marker, which is why it's green. Why in the back it is starting to fade. But here I used India ink on the scroll and on this other stuff, which is why it's not fading. But this cover, New Mutants 92, is currently sitting at $25,000. And I believe that will double. I believe this cover will sell for $50,000. That is my personal belief. Right now, 26,000 with the premium. Is it at 30 something? That's what it feels like to me. Let me check for certain. It'll be interesting to see where this ends up, because so the with buyer's premium right now, that cover is 32,000. So I think this is going over 50,000, which would be saying something, given I can remember drawing this. I was sitting squat on my bedroom in my apartment, drawing this in my lap with my lap board and inking this with all manner of tools, rapidograph pins, Hunt 102 crow quill, and markers. Finally, we have, I think it's 11,000, this double pager. I drew a Deadpool on the back. Okay, I drew a Deadpool on the back. And here is this double pager of Gideon. It's from New Mutants 98, pages 2 and 3. This one, man, did I love doing this. I love the scale of this shot, the rise of the conflict and the battle. But this page is currently sitting at 11,000. Do I believe that's where it's going to end up? I don't. I think that page is going to go in the 30,000 realm. So right now, with buyer's premium, it's at 11,000. You'd pay 13,750 before tax, because when you ask Rob, what's the buyer's premium, the auction house puts their fee on top of it, and that is why you get a bid, but then you also have to factor in the price at the hammer, and that is. And then you got to figure it at the end of the day after tax tip, what percentage goes to the auction house, and who's paying it, the buyer, the seller, and then you extract what you're getting. Now, the big page that I've been building to is one that I have admired for many years, and like the McKean. Let me tell you something. It's got its own. Again, I'm very honored that all this stuff of mine is in the early part of the catalog, along with the Jack Kirby and the Frank Frazettas and all this stuff, the favorable art. There is a Todd McFarlane Spider-Man #2 page. I don't want to leave this out. It's a really cool, Todd art. I think when Todd is inking himself for they called it the adjectiveless Spider-Man because it didn't say amazing or spectacular in front of it. This page is of course up for auction, and we're going to check in right now as we build our way to one of my favorite pages that is being offered in the auction. So let me get this. I wanted to get the most up-to-date prices on all these. The price on this page right now at the hammer, it's $17,500 at the hammer with buyer's premium, is $21,875. People, I think this page is going in the $75,000 to $100,000 range. It is not going home for 21,875. Okay. Now, what would make it even more valuable if Spider-Man was full figure looking at us? It's cool that he's going through the glass window, but his face is obscured. The thing that saves it are these close-up of faces. People want the headshots, they want the face shots, but I still think it's going in the 75 to 100,000 range. Let's check out. Let's see if I'm right. Okay. Here's the main event, people. Here it is. This is a splash page from Weapon X. This entire body of work is going to go under the microscope with us in the next few weeks on our show here, because this is one of the 9 comics that shaped the 90s. Weapon X, all the different line work, all of the different rendering styles that Barry Windsor Smith introduced when he was doing his Wolverine magnum opus Weapon X. These lines shaped all the lines that myself, that Jim Lee, that Eric Larson, that Mark Silvestri, that everybody was attempting to do in the 90s, okay? This to me is the seminal. It's not a cover, or is it? It's a splash page from a key chapter. Weapon X was released twice a week in a book called Marvel Comics Presents, and when it was finished, it was collected. When it was collected, this particular splash page was made the cover. All right, so this is this has become the cover. Okay, this is my personal copy from many years ago. It's beat up, it's torn. It means it's been used. Okay, this was the cover to the Weapon X hardcover. Okay, this sold, I'm going to say 6-7 years ago, and right now, this page I believe is already in. I believe this page is already in the exact same range prior to going live, where, as I said, this stuff starts tripling. It starts just escalating. You should have Will Ferrell as Anchorman, as Ron Burgundy saying, that escalated quickly, because that is going to escalate quickly. Okay? You're like, Liefeld, tell us what it's worth. I'm going to take this. I did some screen grabs. Current bid is at 45,000. Okay. I'm sorry, 145,000 with buyer's premium. It's at 181,000 right now. That is more. I believe it sold for 160,000 several years ago. This is a couple days before. Who knows? Somebody may come in, really want to extend. Sometimes the pre-bids are aggressive. I say me and my friends don't do them anymore, but sometimes it is possible that before the auction on Friday, somebody walks in and jams that up to 250 before hammer. I think this thing's going for in the 350 to 450 range. Yes, I said 350 to 450. I think it's going that high. I think it's that big of a deal. This Barry Windsor Smith the Weapon X work that he did is the most sought after above Conan, and I believe this is going to set off all manner of crazy pants fireworks. And I'm gonna give you an interesting page. There's a couple John Byrne pages. You guys know I love John Byrne. I'm actually not going for any of the stuff in this auction. I reserve the right to change my mind at the last minute, but this is an interesting story. I'm actually sharing this with you, so that you can be as entertained by some of the backstory here, because this is a perfect opportunity, of course, to grab original art and share a story behind it. This is Uncanny X-Men number 118. Story page number 7. This is the one issue that Terry Austin did not ink. These are really nice, capable, I have held this page in my hand personally many times. I know the man who was selling it. He tried to sell it to me. The range that it was offered to me in was always in the $60,000-$65,000 range. I did not want to pay that much for a page that Terry Austin did not ink. As much as I like Ricardo Villamonte, and you can see, you get Storm, you get Cyclops, you get the group, you get Cyclops putting his mask on, you get Wolverine and Nightcrawler, you get glimpses of everybody. It's a great page. If it was by Terry Austin, we would have done that deal. He would have probably charged me more. He would have been within his means. Am I a sucker? Yes, sure, I'm a sucker. At this very moment, that particular page, is tracking sneakily, I believe. It is at 14,000. It is at 14,000. At Final Hammer, you're paying 17,500. This is a page that's going to triple. Okay, I think at Heritage it's going to go between 45 and 65. And you're like, well, you should have paid that. No, 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 no. The man who is going to, whoever is selling this is going to get far below that because, again, Heritage is taking their cut off of that. It could be as high as 30%. And then the guy who gets it gets significantly less. So if it sells for 60, he's not getting anywhere near 60. I wouldn't buy it at 60. I still won't. I won't be putting, this is not a page that I am likely to involve in, but I'm interested to see where it lands. This particular, this particular John Byrne, Ricardo Villamonte, a really cool, fun, really cool and fun page from the X-Men history. Uncanny X-Men pages are hard to get. Here's why I shared this with you. Here's one of the reasons you should get these collections. They're so fun. Terry Austin wrote the foreword for the Marvel Masterworks that collected the final body of work between John Byrne and himself. So he was able to kind of give you a recollection of his time. Now I'm going to have to turn the light on to get some help here and read this stuff. So, boy, I hope I chose correctly here. I hope the story's in here. I love this story. If not, I'll just improvise and expand on it. But there's some great history in here, guys. You should know, I've mentioned it before, but you're going to find out today how Terry Austin and John Byrne almost did not do the Uncanny X-Men. It's shared here. Introduction, Terry Austin. This collects the Uncanny X-Men 141, 142, 143, Days of Future Past, the Marvel Masterworks, and then it goes into the new era, the second run of Dave Cockrum. Terry Austin writes, perhaps the thing that I remember the most about the life-altering year of 1977 was that the powers that be at Marvel Comics were threatening to cancel their recently revived comic book, The X-Men, due to its lower sales figures. I chance it up to being in the Marvel offices one fateful afternoon when editor-in-chief Archie Goodwin rushed up and imparted this bit of news to me. He decided that the only hope for the book's survival was to bump it up from bi-monthly publication to monthly publication, believing that the 2 months between the issues of the comic book was just too much of a time period to build up any sort of sustainable momentum that would be of interest to the readers. And unfortunately, artist Dave Cockrum was incapable of turning the book out on a monthly schedule. A big fan of the Chris Claremont, John Byrne, and Terry Austin work from the Star-Lord feature that we had just published in Marvel Preview, Archie asked if I would be interested in inking the X-Men if he could talk John Byrne into penciling it. To make a long story short, I said yes, I was, and John could, and thus comic book history would be made. Almost, he writes. Soon after, on a visit in the Marvel offices, John Byrne managed to convince me that the Byrne-Austin style of art would be such a shocking departure from the Dave Cockrum, Sam Granger style that fans had become accustomed to that it would actually serve to not increase sales, but to lower them by driving the readers off the book already. Now, I'm going to tell you, the Dave Cockrum stuff was absolutely banging. We've talked about it here from issue 100 on. He was just at a next level. He was definitely a fan favorite. People dug that work. I was buying that book regularly as a kid. It was one of my favorites. But I loved the John Byrne stuff that he was doing on Marvel Team Up and that they had done on Star-Lord and that John had done on Iron Fist. John was around. His presence was known. He had done Avengers issues during the same period that were incredibly popular with the fans. So just giving you a little context here. John proposed that instead of joining him on X-Men, that Terry Austin would switch places with the inker of his other book, Marvel Team Up. That sounded fine to me. I sort of liked the new characters in the X-Men. The prospect of inking Spider-Man and a different guest star every month also sounded appealing. We bounded into Archie Goodwin's office, and John, with much enthusiasm, many dramatic gestures, and perhaps a few hastily assembled charts and graphs, explained to our boss the way that things were going to be. I stood smiling and nodding at the appropriate junctures, and at the close of this lengthy discourse, Archie, God bless him, looked up and simply said, "No." And that, my friends, is how I almost missed out on being part of the most well-regarded runs in comic book history, in one of the most well-regarded runs in comic book history. I would soon become the staunchest fan of the New Kids, Nightcrawler, Phoenix, Wolverine, Colossus, Storm that there could ever be. I became an even bigger fan of Chris Claremont and John Byrne as well. If you've purchased this book, then I probably don't have to remind you how well these two titans played off each other and continually raised the stakes for our mutant heroes. When Chris began phoning me periodically to act out the plots for the next 20 issues or so, it was evident that he would be able to generate a seemingly endless supply of great ideas. But as time went on, I became impressed with how effortlessly he was able to slip into the heads of the various characters and how he was able to craft their dialogue so that each person spoke with their own distinct individual voice. Similarly, I was already a fan of John Byrne's obvious drawing and storytelling skills, and I would come to appreciate his subtler gifts. For example, the nuanced facial expressions that he imparted to our cast of misfits, as well as his ability to infuse personality into the diverse team members by imparting to each of them their own unique body language. Simply put, none of these characters ever moved on, sat, ran, or stood like the other. Happily, the readers discovered these things as well. Sales began to climb, and the book was saved from an undeserved extinction. It was a terrific time, but alas, it was not fated to last. Early on, Chris had been thinking about writing Wolverine out of the book. A feeling I didn't have the same affinity for the character, feeling that he did not have the same affinity for the character as others. I agreed that his decision, that he thought Logan was a one-note character who was just entirely obnoxious. Fortunately for all of us, John managed to persuade Chris that he needed someone in the book whose destiny John could control and channel his ideas into. And Logan was the character of choice. He doesn't speak of it here. It must have been Chris Claremont recalling the story. But this Ricardo Villamonte, it's covered in one of the other forwards, and I'll share that at the time. Ricardo Villamonte was handed the pencils. And of course, I brought the issue here. The page that is inked by Ricardo Villamonte, that is in the Heritage auction, and I'll find it and share it in the words. But I wanted you guys to hear that, because that's a bit of history you may not know, that Terry and John almost didn't do it because John had kind of outthought himself. This is the page going up for auction. This is the page in the book, the line art, Ricardo Villamonte doing a very nice job inking John Byrne. Either Chris Claremont or someone else recounts that the opening of the book, Ricardo Villamonte, see this Logan right here? And this Logan right here? These early renditions of him, Ricardo Villamonte believed that John Byrne had laid down line work for the Beast. And so when the pages came in, Ricardo Villamonte had inked Logan to reflect the Beast. I don't know what was lost in translation, or if that he wasn't up to speed, but in the section of the book that I'll share with you in great detail, they said that they had to use copious amounts of whiteout to cover it up, send it back to Ricardo, and have him ink Logan instead of the Beast. So I've never seen those pages up close and personal, but that page by Ricardo Villamonte, that one issue that Terry Austin didn't ink, carried with it this miscommunication from the guest inker who thought Logan was the Beast. And you can see the way that John Byrne draws Wolverine's hair and the Beast's hair. They're the same. The facial features, very close. So it's very interesting. And if we ever see these two original pages, we will see that copious amount of opaque ink, white paste. Dave Cockrum, I have a cover, and he just liberally covered it with white paint, covering over a Black Widow figure on the cover of the Champions cover that I own. And at first I didn't like it, and over years I really came to be fond of the fact that there's a giant correction on the page. I am very curious to see where this page goes. I am curious to see that if, that page could end up going for $75,000, and then I'll look like the fool for not going in. People, forgive me for speaking of these big, giant numbers. I don't want to speak of them callously. I know the economy is iffy, and there are actually all sorts of people out there who are working really hard and struggling. And look, there's a lot of stuff I don't buy. I am a dedicated, dysfunctional X-Men art buyer, and I look the other way when I spend these what I call investments. And there are pages, as I was going to tell you, the X-Force 2 page. I know the person who purchased that. The page that is right now, if the auction ended today, before it went live, that it would be at $40,000, and that person would take home somewhere in the $30,000 range. I know that they bought that page, not from me. They bought it from someone else. I sold that page probably 34 years ago. This person bought it in the last 15 years. No, I'm sorry, about 18 years ago, and they bought it for $2,500. If I have predicted that that page goes in the $75,000 range, that is a giant trade up. I have pages of art that I have purchased for the lower thousands that I have been offered the hundreds of thousands for. So this art to me is investment. It is stuff that I have informed my family that I will either when the time is right, I will part with it and sell it off in order to gift it to my family. I at this time do not believe it is wise for me to burden them with selling the art after I'm gone, after I'm passed, but certainly I invested in comic book artwork. I invested. Instead of buying a stock, a bond, a car, I bought artwork. And most of the people who I know who are as invested in it as I am will tell you the exact same thing. We love comic book art. We love these auctions. We love to see how the numbers, come and go. There are several hundred pages going in auction later this week after this podcast. Again, when you hear this podcast load, it should load on Thursday, September 11th. The live session for this will be 24 hours later, and there will be a second session Sunday later that weekend. So this is going to be really fun. We'll come back. We'll circle back. We previewed, the incredible work that has been done by Barry Windsor Smith. Some preview pages by me, some Todd McFarlane. I just wanted to get a great cross section. Dave McKean, the artist of this incredible Arkham Asylum, Joker painting. We looked at some John Byrne and everything in between. It's always fun to take some guesses. I made some guesses today. I guessed some ranges. Some may go much lower. Some may go much higher. We'll come back next time. We'll discuss it. But when you see these pages and you see the ink, and we started this talking about the inkers, and whether it's Barry Windsor Smith's lines or Ricardo Villamonte's or Todd McFarlane's or my ink lines, because I guess I just realized that all three of the pieces of mine I did actually ink myself. And it's funny because I am only a Croquill inker on that X-Force 2 job, and I am only a Croquill inker on those 98 pages. But that cover to 92 is a mixture of rapidograph of technical pen and marker and Croquill. So my own evolution as an inker is on these pages. And you can see it. You can see it when you take a page and you tilt it to the light. You can see the level. If it was a rapidograph pen, there's always kind of a deep scratch in the board underneath the ink. The ink is coloring. It's not registered by the camera when it picks it up to get it ready to go color and go off to press for production. But you can see it physically. The great Croquill stuff, unless it's the Barry Windsor Smith stuff, you definitely see the scratch of the Croquill because he is attacking. He is very aggressive with the way that he attacks a page. Joe Sinnott over Jack Kirby is very smooth. It shows the very careful caress that he had with the brush and the way that the brush slid on the Bristol and the way he was able to put it down very smooth. The brush line they're very crisp. They're concise. They don't make any grooves. They don't leave any marks. It's just right on top. Original art is fascinating. Art is why we love comics. It's that combination of story and pictures, which is why we love comics so much. We're going to watch this auction. We're going to watch where these incredible pieces of original art go, and we'll report back and discuss it as we continue to kind of watch and observe the evolution of comic books and of comic book art. Thank you, as always, for joining me. I'm so excited to always share comic book stories, comic book art, comic book happenings with you. If you get a chance, you can go on. You can watch some of those auctions. I'll tell you, I'll have mine on live in the background throughout Friday, seeing where things go. Definitely curious about that X-Men page and seeing where it lands. All the X-Men pages. There's a couple other Byrne Austin pages in the auction. That I'm interested to see, but there's a lot of Kirby. There's Gil Kane. There's John Buscema. Just obviously the Frank Frazetta. That thing is going for 7 figures. Okay, it's not even the auction yet, and it's at $400K. Okay, so my recommendation is, start watching these auctions. They're very entertaining. They're I think as the years go by, we're going to have more and more $1 million sales. I've been talking about this for the last 3 years, and I think you're going to really see comic book art continue to appreciate and become higher profile. Thank you for listening. I told you we were going to read your responses in the middle of the show, and I didn't do that. I didn't do that, did I? Okay, let me share with you a couple of these. This is really fun. Very nice. A gentleman, and he said Frank Rambaud. He wrote and he says, Rob, I just wanted to reach out and say how much I love your podcast. I just finished watching the Eric Gist episode while I do my concept art. Comics have always been my passion. It is why I work in the industry today, even though not directly in comic books. And of course, your work had a huge impact on my journey as an artist. Your energy, your enthusiasm, your artwork, and also how you continue to be highly successful today with your new creations is inspirational, and it keeps me pushing. You're a legend, Rob. Thank you, and have an awesome week. Cheers. Thank you, Frank. Thank you, sir. That was so incredibly kind of you to share that. I wanted to share some Spotify. People over on Spotify have been really generous with showing different episodes. With the Dave Finch episode, it said Rob Arnett says, "Hell yeah! I would love even more interviews. Best comic book podcast ever. Thank you, Rob Arnett." Christos, and Audihor, okay? Christos, ChristosanAudiHor, says your enthusiasm is always turned up to 12 on the dial. It doubled today by having one of my all-time favorites, Mr. Finch, on the show. Effing awesome. Thank you for the fun art and the visual addiction. Paul Neosis says, fantastic episode, Rob. Terry Sala. Oh, I know Terry. He said, great episode. I had never heard David Finch in an interview before. He was really great in his replies, and you went places in this interview I was not expecting. JSL said, what a great episode. Two legends talking comics, talking professional ways of working. I love that the video component is on Spotify now. Dave's Ascension was one of my all-time favorites. I loved the angel components. I imitated it a lot when I drew as a kid. Thank you, Rob, for your show, your art, and your enthusiasm. Jason Folkart says, just a great interview. I enjoyed the willingness to go under the surface and pull out the details as well as your enthusiasm. I love when you talk influences, Rob. More interviews, please. My vote is to get Art Adams. Yano Esquada says, I would love to see more interviews with other artists, Rob. Thank you for this. Justin Kowalski says, man, Rob, you are the biggest hype guy ever for comics. I am loving it. You should interview everyone who is putting out significant work. So the Spotify people, I just appreciate you. Yes, Spotify has a video component. It's actually the thing that flipped me over to doing the YouTube, is that I could also put the video component on Spotify. Wherever you are listening, as I started the show, wherever you hear us, I appreciate it so very much. We will continue to try and get these worked into the middle, as I promised and didn't deliver. People, I jump on this. I collect my thoughts. I share them with you as best I can. I stay as focused as I can. Thank you for having patience with me. When I am not doing this podcast, I am all over social media. If you see me on X, I'm at Robert Liefeld, RobertLiefeld. It's got a blue check. It tells you it's really me. I am the guy. I am the guy you were talking to. I am the guy you were interacting with. I'm reading your replies, your mentions. I am reading your DMs, all of the ways that we communicate. I love X. I love the, up to the minute news aspect, but I also love the connectivity that it gives all of us and the people that I talk to all across the world, all across these beautiful United States, all of the ways that we can support, fist bump each other. I won't fight with you. If you have something nasty to say, I should just tell you right now, I'm just going to mute you and move on. We're not going to have an argument. That's not why I'm on social media. I left that behind me about a decade ago, and I won't be moving forward. Maybe I say some things that are terribly offensive and you're very sensitive to. It's my right to say them. I'm not going to debate whether I should say them or not, especially when it comes to my taste in art, whether it's music, movies, comics. But I love connecting and discussing so many different topics with you guys over on X at Robert Liefeld, not question mark, at Robert Liefeld, blue check, okay? Tells you it's really me. Over on Instagram, at Rob Liefeld, RoBLiefeld, another blue check tells you it's really me. We are doing all sorts of brand new fun video aspects and playing with different programming and observations, and I'm drawing and I'm talking and I'm looking over past clips, past work, sharing stories with you as Instagram evolves. So are we. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for being a part of the Instagram experience. I read your replies, your mentions, your comments, your DMs, all of it. I'm interacting with you all throughout the day. Thank you so much for joining with us over on Instagram at Rob Liefeld Blue Check. I will look to see you there. We have a group. It's called Facebook. I hope that you would join us. Rob Liefeld Marvel Extreme and Beyond is our group. So many of you are jumping on every day. The group is growing just in a crazy fast fashion. We literally just started a little while ago and boom, it's blowing up. Come join us. Rob Liefeld, Marvel Extreme and Beyond is the name of the group. Myself or Terry Sala, who generously gave me a comment that I read. That was a bit of a a surprise. Terry or I or myself will click you on through to the group and you can join in. Each and every episode of this show is given its dedicated post so that you can discuss each of the topics, the ideas, the concepts, and just share your interpretations of what we're doing here. We share great art, great ideas, great previews. We would love to see you. We treat it like a living room again. Nobody fights there either. No trolls, no fighting, no arguing. We just don't harbor it. We're all about the good feels. Okay, so join us, Rob Liefeld, Marvel Extreme and Beyond on Facebook. I am on TikTok. Rob Liefeld on TikTok. You'll find me doing the same sort of kind of video components, commentary, drawing, opinions, sharing past history, looking at old clips. Please join me on TikTok, Rob Liefeld. I would love to see you. We're bouncing TikTok to Instagram to X to Facebook, all the social media platforms. I am hopping over there. Thank you for jumping on. Our TikTok growth is crazy. My social media dude, Scott, is crushing it with these incredible clips and all of the different edits that he's doing and kind of bringing us into the 21st century, maybe a few years too late, but here we are, and we're having a good time. When I am not doing all of those things, I am also live streaming, and there's going to be a lot to live stream. We're about to ramp it up. Deadpool Batman is dropping. If you want the creator of Deadpool to sign your seminal Deadpool Batman crossover book, the best way to get it in the most immediate fashion is through my Whatnot or my eBay live streams. Watch my Instagram, my TikTok. I'll be letting you know. Rob Liefeld on TikTok, Rob Liefeld on Instagram when I am going live on either Whatnot or on live on Whatnot or eBay, and we'll let you know through the different social media platforms. We've got the Deadpool Batman comics coming up. We have limited supply of those, but if you want blood splatter, Liefeld chisels, if you want drop shadow chisels, just regular chisels, just straight up different colored signatures in red, blue, green, yellow, white, gold, silver. We do all of that stuff. We have original art. We have exclusive comic books, exclusive Spider-Man, Captain America, Fantastic Four, Deadpool, Prophet, Youngblood, Evangeline, all manner of different comics that I've produced that we only share with you through Whatnot. We've got a comic book series I've been doing only through my live streaming. Last Blood, it's the future of Extreme. It's the characters that you know and love in Extreme many, many years in the future as the world is dramatically altered. I have done about 90 pages of that series so far. It is only available via me. It's not going to hit your store. It hasn't hit your store in 2 years. There are exclusive Youngblood comics, Youngblood editions. We would love to share those with you. We launched giant size Youngblood this summer. I wanted to get it out on the 50th anniversary of Giant Size X-Men. This is a brand new Youngblood adventure that's not coming into stores until late 2026, but you can get it now through the live stream component. So check me out, Whatnot. Get the app, download it, follow me, Rob Liefeld, eBay. Watch for my announcements when I go live on eBay. Again, we're going to be ramping up the live streaming because I can't get to Montana, to Texas, to Florida. I can't get to Idaho. I can't get to Chicago. I have to do my work here. I am super busy producing comic books, multiple pages, panels, covers, trading cards, and the best way to do it is through the live streaming. We have a 5-star rating. We have sold 20,000+ items in 3 years, and we have a great shipping average, high 5-star rating. Five is it? Good God, I don't know how many umpteen thousands of positive reviews, but we've earned it. We earn it by getting that stuff to you in great condition. There's also a CGC component that you can get when we are live streaming. We have pushed over 6,000 books through live streaming through CGC. So we are a full service live streaming component. We will look to service you and hopefully entertain you when you jump on those different live streaming shows with us. Hey, at the end of each and every episode, I'm checking in with you. I want to know that you're doing okay. I want to know that you're spiritual, you're mental, you're emotional, and your physical well-being is strong, that you're doing well, reach out, ask for help, uh, give love, receive love, be a friend, uh, go and break some bread with a friend you haven't seen in a while, have some coffee, have a meal, go to that diner, hang out. I'm so fortunate that I have friends from when I was in high school that I can still get together with, and we can catch up on our lives, our kids, our families. Make time for yourself. Get off the treadmill. Get off the grind. Read that great book, that great comic. Watch that great show. There's a lot of great shows coming. There's some great movies still in the theaters. There's some great stuff that you can get on demand. Just whatever you're doing. I got family members in the medical profession, in the law profession, in the real estate profession, in the arts. Everybody just gets overwhelmed. There's so much asked of us. There's so much noise out there. We are assaulted by noise 24/7. I hope that this show can be an escape to you, can be one of those things. Have that ice cream sundae, have that Reese's Big Cup, have those Doritos, pickle chips. Yes, I'm going to continue to promote those because I love them, but I don't want you to buy so many of them that I don't have. I don't have some because those are my escape. The tangy pickle Dorito chip, when it melts on your tongue, is now my new favorite thing ever of all time, okay? Yeah, I'm a kid. Hey, we are rooting for you. We are thinking for you too. Boom, fist bumps right into the Blue Yeti mic. Wishing you all the very best. Take care of yourself. Come back, see me. Do not leave me behind. You know me. I'm right there next to that tree. That's where I'll be. Come back, swing by, pick me up. Let's hang. We will most certainly, most definitely, most absolutely, okay? And inevitably, that's the one we're looking for. We are going to talk again real soon.